And now the 419 with Gretchen DeBacker, Matt Killam, and Kevin Mullen.
Welcome into the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Wheatro Wealth Management. I'm Kevin Mullen.
Gretchen DeBacker.
Matt Killam.
We've got an exciting show.
It's slight deviation.
Well, you know, it's Monday.
That's right.
And for the better part of the last, 6 months, we've done the same thing every Monday.
That's right.
But you know what? Let's do something different.
That's right.
I think the mayors have just boycotted the show.
We've had budgetary cutbacks, so we're not. We had to skip one Monday because we didn't have the same level of security to bring in local mayors.
We've been paying a lot of money to get the mayors on.
We've had a sniper on the roof.
Our bribery scheme is a lot of money.
Yeah, we got.
What an unusual thing for an attorney to say out loud.
So no mayors on the program today.
That's
right.
But you could say that each one of these people are certainly the mayor of their area of expertise.
Agreed.
And people that, what we love about Mayor Monday is it's individuals that love their community, that are working hard to make it better. And the reality is we can certainly say that about the three guests we have on the program today.
Yeah, Scott.
At least two of them.
We won't tell who the odd man or odd person out is.
Right.
Scott, the Carpenter is coming on. He is certainly the mayor of our brand and storytelling for the Metro Parks Pacific. He's coming to talk specifically about Watershed Weekend today.
So excited.
But in terms of being having a mayoral role on everything you read or hear from the Metro Parks perspective, he's the guy.
Nathan Mattimoe is going to join us talking about local art, public art.
He's the manager of public art for the Arts Commission.
Yeah, and this is a throwback. I can't remember when we recorded Matt, but he was commenting about the fact that the role that art plays in it, and what a significant part the Art Commission specifically plays. Nathan and Mark and everyone on that team are humble, but I think sometimes you can just drive by public art, or if you grew up with it, it's some part of your background. But Nathan can do a little bit of storytelling. It's not just taking care of what we got, which they do an excellent job of, but there's some new additions this year that I'm particularly excited to hear about, not just who made them and what they look like, but the story behind them.
And then our final guest, when she spoke at the Rotary Club of Toledo, I introduced her to the group as my favorite nonprofit leader in Northwest Ohio, and I proceeded to be accosted by another nonprofit CEO saying that he was both offended and agreed with me entirely.
Yeah, sure.
Wendi Huntley from Connecting Kids to Meals is going to join us, doing incredible work
100%.
feeding hungry kids in our community, and the numbers are insane, right?
Yeah.
When you talk about how many meals they're serving, and there's still a need for more.
Regrettably, both things true.
Let's dive right into it. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're joined by Scott Carpenter from Metro Parks Toledo here on the 419.
Support for the 419 comes from Wheatro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at wheatroadvisors.com.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. We're joined now by Scott Carpenter with Metro Parks Toledo. Scott, the most important question is, what does Matt actually do for a living?
Because
Yep, that's fair.
Let me get my pen.
Watershed Weekend is coming up. This is a big deal.
It is going to be a big deal. So we're reaching the halfway point in the development of the Glass City River Walk, which we think is a watershed moment for our community on the banks of the largest watershed on the Great Lakes. Thus, hence, Watershed Weekend. And last count, I think we're at 42 different events during that 4-day period.
Talk to us a little bit about the Riverwalk as a whole, the project.
So Riverwalk, people have really embraced Glass City Metro Park on the east side with the ribbon and the unique play areas that we have. That represents 25% of a larger vision for Glass City Riverwalk, which will eventually stretch 2.5 miles on each side of the river from the high level to the Skyway bridges. What I think is going to be impactful about Watershed Weekend is it's going to mark the opening of the two latest additions to Riverwalk. and for the first time we'll be on both sides of the river. So I think maybe it'll click with more people what's really going on here.
You're an East Side guy that grew up on the East Side and lives in downtown Toledo now. What does the development that has come to Metro Parks over the last few years, both downtown and across the river, I mean, what does that mean to you personally?
And how has being walkable to breweries changed your life?
I can now walk to 3 different breweries. It's not been good.
To be fair,
This show's actually intervention. It's a sham. You just want you to know you're in a safe place.
Let's bring the brewery
Nathan,
owners
can you
in.
come out here and tell them that? Yeah.
to be fair, you could always walk to a brewery. It would just take you longer.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the
right.
spirit I love
There's
about
one
your
right
town.
on my street now, though. I always think back. My father-in-law was sort of a lifetime East Side resident, and one of those never give up on East Toledo folks, right? And where he used to walk, he'd walk 10 miles a day, and one of his favorite places to walk is what is now Glass City Metro Park. And I wish he were here today to see it, because this is he always knew East Toledo would come back, and it was a passion for him.
Scott, you've gotten to experience a lot of wonderful things in your long career with the Metro Parks. You've been a part of all of them. You probably don't have a favorite, and I wouldn't put you on the spot in that way, but of just specifically this project, are there some specific nuggets that are highlights to you, maybe even happening across this, a walk that you wish that your father-in-law would have had? Certainly would check the box for important personal storytelling, but you've seen a lot. And what are some of the things that you pulled from this project?
A real highlight for me is seeing what's happening in what used to be called International Park, now called International Cove. I'm old enough to remember when it opened as International Park, and to see that become what it is today. I was there last night. Me too. You were too.
Yeah.
And it's just beautiful, and it's going to be the go-to. It's going to be the Instagram spot of Toledo. I'm sure if it isn't already. So that's a highlight. You mentioned I came from the East Side, Oregon, and now live in downtown. So that whole area connected by the high-level bridge is sort of my turf, and to be able to ride my bike now from home to what we call the Bend, up over the MLK Bridge to International Park. That's my retirement plan. That's going to be a daily routine someday, I think, for a lot of people.
The Riverwalk, just to make sure that people understand what the sort of geography is, it's basically both sides of the water from bridge to bridge.
Yep.
And it's not just walking. There's a walking path. There's so many ways to engage. Nathan Mattimoe from the Arts Commission is our next guest. There's art installations. There's places you can bop into, like Imagination Station, places to grab a drink, places to sit down and get a bite, engage with the water. Why is this important for the city of Toledo to be engaging in this particular space in this way?
I think connectivity and activation are the two kind of nerd words we use a lot. So
Not just those.
Riverwalk will connect 6 neighborhoods, including mine. It'll connect eventually 3 metro parks, Middle Grounds, Glass City, and a future metro park in the Vistula neighborhood. It'll connect some of the major attractions on both sides of the river. You mentioned Imagination Station, the National Museum of the Great Lakes. So it's the impact of Riverwalk, I think, is really the connectivity and all the activity that'll take place along that 5 miles.
So Watershed Weekend is June 11th through the 15th?
14th.
11th through the 14th.
Yeah.
The real key day for the community is Saturday. Although there's, as you mentioned, there's 40 some odd events. The Arts Commission is doing their art walk on Thursday down there. There's just tons of stuff. But in terms of the Metro Parks event, Saturday all day, the MLK Bridge is going to be closed.
It is.
And people will be able to engage with all of the Metro Park services and climbing wall and all of that kind of stuff. Tell us a little bit about what that day will entail for families. And it's free.
And it's free, yeah. Part of the idea of Watershed Weekend was to show what's possible. So, over those 4 days, from an art loop to a techno music festival, a retro skate party in the park where Metro Parks is doing a takeover, And then on that Saturday, we're asking people to meet us in the middle to really symbolically and physically demonstrate how we're connecting the two sides of the river. We're going to throw a party on the Martin Luther King Bridge. So it'll be closed to vehicles that day, and we're going to set it, it'll be Metro Park style, so we'll set it up as like one of our outdoor expos with climbing walls, pool where you can paddle kayaks. I saw our folks are rigging up to be able to do sort of like climbing off the bridge.
I was wondering,
have
that
you
was
seen that
a
video?
request I had in a meeting a long time ago. I'm so excited they're doing that.
They've got that rigged up now.
Very cool.
And yeah, so all things Metro Parks on that day. A lot of partners coming in too, and that's going to be, I think, the highlight of the whole 4-day weekend.
But talk to the shell. We talk, or maybe just I'd say talk about sort of green boxing, the comparative nomenclature for economic development, which is white boxing. The green space by the Metro Parks design, and I think this is an embodiment of it. There are 40 events. A few of them are the Metro Parks, but the rest of them are the people that Metro Parks serves. Can you extrapolate a little bit on the metaphor that is the Riverwalk and why that's just a good thumbnail example of what the broader is?
Yeah, so Riverwalk is a beautiful thing in itself. It'll be where people recreate and gather, but it's also like a spine where that will, or the connective tissue, if you will, that'll connect all of the really interesting and innovative things going on downtown. If you've been down Summit Street, where there's some real activity happening and development along the Vistula neighborhood, Imagination Station, the hotels, the restaurants. I mean, not far off of the Riverwalk is Fifth Third Field, Huntington Center, and Glass City Center. So it really does connect all of the places you want to be downtown.
And you mentioned the genius of the naming of Watershed Weekend.
Who came up with that name?
I love the name, and I didn't come up with it.
So
How handsome.
when it was tossed out, a coworker of ours, Mike, and I were talking about it. And, first, we said we don't have a better idea, and second, the fact that it's going to make some people say, "What does that mean?" kind of works in our favor because among other things,
Whose idea
we're
was
an
it?
educational institution.
Was it
so
Matt's
when
idea?
Matt came up with Watershed Weekend,
I don't like it anymore.
I gave Mike credit the other day, and he was quick to point out that was your idea.
Because Matt demands that as part of his leadership. His
Yeah,
leadership is give me credit.
that's right.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a good tee up to a lot of activities, and there's a part of this for our next interview with Nathan as well. A lot of activities, a lot of fun stuff, but it is a little bit of the vector for a true mission. Sounds not accurate because connecting people to nature is the mission. But we're a conservation agency. Do you mind leaning into that just a little bit?
Sure.
Because I know it's something that you care about.
Yeah, so what people may not know is that 80% of the land Metro Parks owns is for conservation. So where we're at here at the Riverwalk is even 80% conservation, despite all of the many things. We pack a lot into that other 20%, right? So the other 20% is getting people engaged in nature. So we do programming, some really creative facilities for kids, especially at Glass City Metro Park. We took the lighthouse behind Imagination Station, lit it with LED lights to make it attractive, and put a slide going down. So there's an element of fun, and that's what you'll find. That and some other surprises. A tugboat. As you walk along the Riverwalk.
How do Metro Parks believe, or Scott, do you believe that the Riverwalk will translate into people caring about the water that we live on?
People naturally want to be by water. It's probably the number one people attraction. I don't think that's going to be a problem at all. I think they just want to be able to get to it. So, if you go way back, and this is not my line, but for too long we treated our river like our back door instead of what it should be, our front door. I think of it too as not just a benefit for downtown, but a gateway to all of Northwest Ohio.
We're talking with Scott Carpenter with Metro Parks Toledo. Scott, in your time with the Metro Parks, I've got to believe the the pace of innovation has changed. How you engage, how you leverage that 20%. Where does this go? Right? What's next? How do you keep up with all of this?
So we have a lot of competition these days that we didn't have in the past, namely these, right? So, I mean, to show my age, when I was a kid, Mom said go outside and play, right? And partly that was for her benefit, I'm sure. But I think we know as parents intuitively that it's a good thing for kids to play outside. But I didn't have air conditioning, cable, video games, so, tablets. So that's what we're competing against today. And we've realized that we have to up our game. That's why we build a treehouse village. That's partly why Riverwalk. The other reason for Riverwalk is it's no secret Toledo's lost population. Businesses tell us that attracting and retaining talent is vital for their future. First, we have to make it a great place to live, and that's what the parks do. So that's, and I've forgotten your question.
No, you answered it. How did you first get to the Metro Park, Scott? When you first started, what was your role when you first started, and how did you get there?
Sure, I was a newspaper reporter and editor for 15 years, and
at the Blade?
At the Port Clinton and Fremont Gannett newspapers, now called the USA Today Company, and before that, a group of weekly newspapers that stretch from Oregon to east of Cleveland. And I never thought I'd do anything else. I wanted to be a newspaper reporter since 8th grade, and realized that the only way to move up in the company I was with was to move. So I could have gone to Green Bay or Lansing or Las Vegas, I think was and I couldn't. I had too many family ties here. My wife's career was taking off here. And so I started looking for something different. I knew some folks at Metro Parks and heard about an opening, threw my resume in at the very last minute and hired him basically as a writer, because back then, this is 29 years ago, our main channel of communication was a magazine. So I started being a magazine writer basically, and the PR side of it grew from there.
Yeah, how has writing changed for the current audience?
It's gotten shorter, shorter attention spans. People, I joke that I write the gray stuff in between the pictures now, although I take pictures too. So. Things I think are quicker, longer. Many of us still appreciate long form, but for our primary, channel of communication, which is online, you want to keep it short and punchy and probably more entertaining oriented, because it's an entertainment medium now.
Sorry.
This is just a personal question. So folks that are watching this on TV will see you've got a tattoo on your left arm.
Oh, I do.
Talk to me about the story behind that.
I did not tee him up for that.
I think it was 10 years ago so the number of acres you own as a park system is a big measure of success for us. Maybe nobody else even knows what an acre is. It's a football field, by the way. So when we reached 12,000 acres 10 years ago, I made an offhanded comment that if we ever got to 13,000, I would get a tattoo. I was, of course, I was told that wasn't possible in my career. Well, we did that, and 2 years ago in January, my 60th birthday happened to be that March, so I fulfilled my promise, and these are all marsh birds that I enjoy out at Howard Marsh, and I have 6 grandkids, so I got 6 birds.
I love it.
So,
It's
Scott,
a cool tattoo.
Run us through the calendar, if you can, of Watershed things. Where can people participate, check it out, and plug in?
We're going to kick it off with a sort of a Rise and Rally event and a news conference to announce the whole weekend on Thursday, June 11th in the morning. That evening will be the Art Loop. I think Nathan's probably going to talk more about that. But can I just a little detour? One of the events that I have always enjoyed the most are the Art Loops.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the reasons I moved downtown, just because that's what always drew me down there. Cool. So I love that event, and it'll celebrate the international theme as well as the art at International Cove. And then Friday, Metro Parks will have a heavy presence at Party in the Park, which is going to be expanded a bit with a couple of different bands along the Riverwalk and a balloon glow
yeah.
on both sides
Or
of the
balloon
river.
blow,
Either one, on both sides of the river. That's Friday. Saturday, and Friday night also is a retro skate party at the Ribbon, which is always a popular event. We've got on Saturday the event on the Martin Luther King Bridge. That'll be the main event for public event. That evening is Teclido, the Electronic Music Festival, and then
At the Ribbon.
At the Ribbon, and then Sunday we have the BRB Run Club is going to do a 5K run. It's a club that's got started on running on the what is the Riverwalk, so that'll be exciting.
To Scott's point, things are added all the time as people,
Yeah.
as we want them to do, right? It's their riverfront. So we've got the B Team bicycle group that is going to leave and do a ride downtown. We have a Celtics premier game that's going to be played on an adjacent field that we're going to
Pro
be.
soccer,
Yeah, so pretty exciting about that. And some kids flag football. Again, a lot of this is getting people to think differently about the green spaces or open spaces downtown, and that's for other people to decide, not us.
Yeah, I appreciated the connection, kind of reminder of this weekend as an analogy for what the Metro Parks are, which is really a blank canvas for our community to make connection
That's
happen.
right.
What's the website where people can get more information?
If you go to metroparkstoledo.com, it's right on the front page, or metroparkstoledo.com/watershed. It'll get you right there.
And all social media pages.
Oh yeah.
Scott Carpenter with Metro Parks Toledo, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
We're going to take a break. When we come back, Nathan Mattimoe will join us from the Arts Commission talking public art, and we'll probably talk about Scott Carpenter's art loop as well. Okay. The 419, powered by WGTE.
To me, community means connecting to others.
I'm Donnie Miller, and welcome to The Point.
I love PBS Kids!
We're a community committed to education. Discover new ideas, dive into exciting subjects, and engage with the world around you.
I would send them personally a t-shirt. Crime doesn't pay in the old West End, pass it on. That's how we cleaned up the neighborhood.
Vision loss for people is not the end.
It's a story, it's the next chapter.
WGTE Public Media invites you to Get Out and Play Day.
The 419, 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91, and 6 p.m. on WGTE Connects. It's the 419, powered by WGTE.
WGTE, where you come to watch, listen, and learn.
Welcome back to the 419, powered by WGTE. We're joined now by Nathan Mattimoe with the Arts Commission, the mayor of public art, if you will.
Yeah, I'm the director of art in public places.
Same thing.
We need to fit into the theme.
So what?
There's a certain stature that comes with mayor that I'm not willing to take
You're not
on.
willing to take
That's right, the
understandable.
parking.
Don't pick up the mantle if you can't.
the parking,
Right. One of the things that people don't understand, I think, that people don't understand about the Arts Commission is that we were, and I'm on the board there, but that we were originally started by the city of Toledo to take care of, to manage, and take care of the public art that the city of Toledo owns, a multi-million-dollar collection.
Yes.
Your job and the 1% of the arts funding that we thankfully get from taxpayers of the city of Toledo, is to take care of that collection. To start, can you talk a little bit about what the collection is, maybe some highlights of where some of the pieces are that are currently taken care of by the Arts Commission?
Yeah, so there's about 153 individual pieces in the city of Toledo's collection that ranges from, large-scale sculptures like City Candy at the Vistula parking garage to poetry that's stamped into sidewalks. So huge kind of range of scale, materials, approaches. Lately we've designed projects that are for artists that aren't sculptors or aren't traditionally public artists. So the signal box wraps, the vinyl wraps on signal boxes. Most of the concentration of work is in the downtown area and kind of surrounding, but we do have work in every district in the city. The program was started in 1977. I think the 1983, early 80s was really when the program took off with a citywide sculpture exhibition that was a citywide partnership with folks like the museum, the City Arts Commission, lots of private funders in that. Many pieces remain from that event. I think the blubber sculpture, the tire swing at the museum came from that effort. So
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so it's long legacy, lots of pretty tall shoulders that we stand on that fought and worked to put the 1% for Art program in place.
Since we just had our friends from the Metro Parks on, can you talk a little bit about some of the commitments the Arts Commission is working with the Metro Parks on in terms of public art on the Glass City Riverwalk?
Yes, we're on our second project, major project. We've partnered on art loops and some other things, but as far as like major commissions, we just completed, just assembled our second project, which is Starburst over at International Cove. We did, a few years ago, we did the Field of Histories, which was really an incredible project. That engaged over 200 people, residents, many of them from the neighborhood, about historical objects. So it was really a mechanism. Public art is a mechanism for, this bringing community together to talk about history, to talk about their community, their neighborhood, their family, where their father worked. It was like my father had this tool. He was a tool and die guy, and this was his tool. So,
for the people who might not be familiar with the project, we talked a little bit about storytelling, but if you don't mind digging a little bit deeper, because it's a fine example of the intrinsic value of storytelling and how public art follows through with that. Can you talk a little bit about what that installation is and the pieces in it?
Field of Histories?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so there's 170 glass spheres on poles. They are illuminated at night, and each sphere has a laser engraved image of an object. So we did a couple workshops where we invited the community, again, over 200 people showed up, like 240 people, I think. We photographed those objects in, I think, 12 different views. So then the artist team, Bryony Roberts is the artist who was, she was out of New York at the time. I think she's in California now, but her team 3D rendered every object and then had them engraved. So it became this like museum or this archive of history. I think I think one of the coolest parts about that project is the website that the Metro Parks created. Every object that was submitted is shown, and we captured those narratives. So
that's neat.
you can read about those pieces, the history,
What they mean, yeah.
and everybody that participated is in the actual installation. But every object that was submitted, over, again, close to 240 or more, are on the website.
What types of objects are we talking about?
I missed that part. So
there's a rosary, there's a Jeep, there's a glass bottle from obviously our glass history.
Yeah, Key to the City's in there.
There's a pay stub from someone's grandfather, great grandfather's first paycheck from Pilkington or was a parent company. So to Nathan's well-articulated point, you talk about storytelling, but 300 people came, and these were their Toledo stories. And you can visit the website. Not all of the stories could be told on the site, but on the physical site, but the virtual site, all the stories are there. And at the risk of overdoing this, there's different objects and different people, but what you can get from the broader is that a lot of the stories are the same. So we talk about a city, we talk about connection, and this is exactly what the Art Commission brought. And I do take I'm going to push back on Nathan a little bit. There might be 2 or 3 specific projects that they participated in the Riverwalk, but their participation in the planning and the community connection, the thoughtful way to think about where public art should be has been an integral part of the thought process. The Metro Parks is not the birther of the Riverwalk. It is people like Nathan, Mark Folk, Jennifer, that team that sometimes gives us information and also sometimes just as importantly says, stop.
Right. And it's the same exact role they played for the Glass City Center. Anyone that's been around there knows about the millions of dollars of investments that happened at the Glass City Center to really make it the landmark institution facility that it is. Nathan, can you imagine what the city of Toledo would look like without the public art installations and the murals?
And why is that Frost, Doria?
I can't. No, I couldn't. I could because I probably wouldn't be here.
I think
I probably I wouldn't know what it would look like because I wouldn't be here. Honestly,
in a similar lane. I mean, is public art nice to have, or is public art something we need to have?
I mean, I think it's something that we need to have. I know that's arguable. I think, where's the funding that goes into it is always a conversation. But I think public art is it's a way to show the pride in your community, that biography, that connection to history or nature or whatever that may be, abstraction. We have pieces that don't really relate to anything specifically. They're just really cool and they fit in within the environment. I think the Glass City Center is a great example. Every piece, and we made sure that every piece that was installed had some connection to the city. I mean, there's light boxes, these really beautiful light boxes that represent 6 different metro parks. So we wanted to make sure that all of that is connected in that project specifically. But I think that's something that we try to do with every project.
Another example of the connectivity and the identity is the recent, maybe a year or so since it's open, is the Broadway corridor. And the sculptures that are in it right down the middle of that community's new road.
Yeah, and that project came directly from a planning process with the Toledo Design Collective that was almost 2 years or more, meeting with the neighborhood, interfacing with the city as they started to plan the road reconstruction. If you look at that Design Collective plan, there are sculptures in a median that were basically called out by the community. So they said, we want public art as part of this project or any future project. And if you look at that plan and you look at our sculptures, they're definitely different sculptures, but it's almost like this is what the community wanted and this is what we worked to deliver. And we worked in community to select the artists, to select the final pieces, to make sure that there was a reflection of the folks that live there.
I mean, art is, how people react to art is different, right? Everybody. And so, I mean, a new project pops up and, I'll look at it and be like, I don't understand that at all, right? How are folks, from your perspective, how would you like the community to approach new installations and maybe even things that we haven't discovered before? What's that first step that you say, this is, I think, how we get the most out of it?
That's a good question. I think, we have a process that is pretty tried and true. And I think that our process really does lead to the best result. I really believe that. Now, whether folks are going to understand that or not is, everybody's perception is different. I kind of like things that I don't understand. I like to learn about things and learn an understanding about, I don't know, why things are in the landscape, whatever. But I think public art is also, it's kind of a cliche, but it's also about public dialogue, right? So public art isn't about, well, here's the thing and there you go, enjoy it. It's a continued dialogue. It's a continued dialogue with the environment that it's in. I mean, we move sculptures because the landscape around them changes. Levis Square was redone and we were moving a sculpture, Kabuki Dancer. We're actually in process of doing the foundation work for that right now. So
Where's that moving to?
over to Beschenstein Park.
Okay.
So right over in front of the Owens Corning,
Yeah.
kind of their campus, right next to the Washington, that big blue bridge, like old railroad bridge.
So you're hinting at something, and I know this isn't necessarily the sexiest part of the job, but Gretchen kicked out the interview in this way. I'm curious as to, it is easy for people to focus on the new, right? That's always exciting. But as Gretchen mentioned, and a large portion of your role is care and maintenance. I'm boring people about a maintenance plan, but I am curious. You have 153 pieces you steward that are made of all manner of things, that are all manner of ages. They're in all manners of places in the community that have that are more in the sun, not.
Sure.
Where does this live, and what does planning look like for long-term care and maintenance of these pieces that cannot be replaced?
It's almost half of the work that we
I would
do right
imagine.
now. And it is the lack, it's the non-sexy aspect of it, right? But no, it's extremely important. I firmly believe that if we can't maintain what is already out there, we should not be putting new work into the public. It's just, because what we are doing when we put a sculpture, a mural, like in a neighborhood, we're making a commitment to that neighborhood. We're making a commitment to that we're going to maintain it. Sometimes we like to think in perpetuity. Nothing is permanent, but no, it's critical to what we do. It's kind of that. It's almost growing to almost. It's about half of what we're doing right now as far as the workload.
What's a city other than Toledo that's like the mecca for public art, like the model for other cities?
Also, Fostoria.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, I think we punch above our weight in Toledo. I'm going to say that. We're up there. I think for the population that we have, all the metrics that we have in Toledo, we punch way above our weight with the public art program. I love Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati's mural program, Artworks, is one of the main organizations that kind of manages that. That mural collection is incredible. It's diverse. It is. It talks about their history. It talks about the future. It's just fun. And I know it's a major concerted effort. They have Blink every other year, so it's this big festival. But the way, and I think the way that they work with the existing building stock, which is also very impressive in downtown Cincinnati. There's very few parking lots. So the way they use the buildings and artwork to draw attention to the use of these buildings in downtown. I've been there a few times recently, and it's just a striking.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We're talking to Nathan Mattimoe with the Arts Commission. We're wrapping up this segment, but Scott Carpenter mentioned that part of the reason why he moved downtown was the Art Loop. What is the Art Loop, and how can people find more information?
So the Art Loop, it's definitely evolved over the years. It's almost turned into like a block party now, but I think this is our second year doing the Art Loop at the Glass City Metro Park, now over the International Cove side. It's evolved from multiple locations that a bus would kind of take you around to, which, had varying success. We like this concentration of activity now where we bring a bunch of artists together. We're going to have live mural painting. We'll have, this is a kind of an international theme, as Scott mentioned, so we'll have a number of different ethnic dancing troupes and performers kind of to celebrate that culture of that space, the history of that space. We have the Starburst sculpture that like I mentioned, was just completed as of yesterday, but we have a dedication next week on the 4th, and then the 11th will be the Art Loop. So yeah, it's
good way to experience all of it, I think. And again, it is a very purposeful way, as the Art Commission is known to be. It's a thoughtful commentary on whatever the theme is, and everyone's input has been included in it, so we're grateful for it.
Yeah, no, and we're grateful for your guys' partnership on this and all the public art. I mean, these are substantial installations that we've been able to accomplish with your guys' partnership. So
who's a better
thank
DJ, you or Mark Folk?
Depends on any who you ask. Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I think it's best when you're together.
Nathan Mattimoe with the Arts Commission, thank you so much for joining us.
Hearing or not.
We take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Wendi Huntley with Connecting Kids to Meals here on the 419.
Thank you, buddy.
Support for the 419 comes from Weitro Wealth Management, where we understand that your financial path is personal. Advisory services are offered through Capital Investment Advisory Services, LLC. Securities offered through Capital Investment Group, Inc. Member FINRA and SIPC. More information at WitroAdvisors.com.
Destination Toledo. Whether you're a local or a visitor, Destination Toledo invites you to explore the region and be a tourist in Toledo. Find events, dining, and things to do at visittoledo.org.
WorkSpring. HR issues and employee well-being go hand in hand. WorkSpring supports employers through compliance, training, and wellness because healthy workplaces don't happen by accidents. Learn more at workspring.org.
Toledo Refining Company, a subsidiary of PDF Energy. Toledo Refining Company is a supplier of fuels that keep our region moving. Located in Oregon, Ohio, the refinery processes crude oil into gasoline, diesel, jet fuel, and other petroleum products.
And Tarda, celebrating its 55th year of connecting Northwest Ohioans to their community. More information at tarda.com.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. We're joined now by Wendi Huntley with Connecting Kids to Meals. Wendi, welcome to the 419, powered by WGTE.
Thank you for having me.
We had you on the podcast.
Yes.
You were my surprise guest. We did a live event.
That's right.
Out at Glass City Metro Park. But this is, I think this is your first time here on this show.
Very first. Thrilled to be here.
Which is, I'm sorry that it took us this long to get you here.
That's all right.
But you guys do incredible work year-round, but obviously summer is a unique sort of chaos for you guys. What does Connecting Kids to Meals do, and why is summer different and important?
Sure. So first of all, thank you again. Just excited to be here. Connecting Kids to Meals is a local nonprofit organization. What we do is we focus on providing healthy meals to kids at no cost during out-of-school time, so after school hours and summer months. This is critically important because we got 1 out of every 4 kids in our community that faces food insecurity. So during the school year, our numbers are about...
Wendi, can you educate us a little bit? I think that we're now becoming more familiar with people, or we're hearing food insecurity, but do you mind giving us a definition of that?
Yeah, food insecurity means that a person does not know where the next meal is going to come from or doesn't have enough to eat. Mm-hmm. And so we have our kiddos in our community that are really struggling with this. And we partner with our after-school programs, summer sites, libraries, community centers, pretty much so wherever kids gather, we're going to be there to make sure they don't have to worry about transportation to a place to get meals, cost associated with getting meals, any of those typical barriers. And so we want to be where those kids are.
And it's
summer. I'm sorry.
It's a combination of both quantity and quality, right?
Correct.
Not having enough food, but also not having access to healthy food.
Absolutely, absolutely. So right now we're doing about 2,000 to 2,500 meals a day.
Repeat that one more time. 2,000
to 2,500 meals a day.
Every day.
Every day.
Monday through Friday.
Monday through Friday.
I mean, it's a little heartbreaking to think about a community that I love so much, and we talk about every day, we talk about opportunities, and we talk about positive things in Toledo, and then to hear that there are thousands of kids that are hungry every day.
Absolutely.
Tens of
thousands to be accurate, for sure. And so our goal is really to partner with those folks that are giving kids a safe place, those folks that are doing educational programming, enrichment programming, sports teams, pretty much so any place, again, where kids are gathering. And so our summertime becomes critically important because during the academic year, our kids are able to access breakfast and lunch at school. So that's why we focus on the after-school hours when they've eaten at 11 o'clock or 11:30, and then come 3:30, you're asking them to participate in some sort of STEM class, or it's a sports practice, or any other process, and so they're hungry. They can't focus.
That's right. Talk to me a
can't
little
learn.
about the geography of this. I think I think there's sort of a misconception that hunger in our area is in one area, and that's not the case, is it?
No.
Educate us on this.
No, it's not the case at all. You know, when we look at the recent data from the Ohio Department of Education and Workforce about the free and reduced percentages throughout our community and for all of our school districts, certainly TPS is leading the way. It's our large urban school district. But we know that the numbers are high in Sylvania. We know they're high in Springfield. We know they're high in Maumee. We know that they're climbing in Anthony Wayne. We know they're climbing in outlying areas, Perrysburg school districts. We know Northwood. We know all that's happening throughout all of the school districts throughout our community. In Lucas County alone, 75% of the school buildings, including charter schools, have at least 50% of their kids that qualify for free and reduced meals.
Talk to me a little bit about, pardon me, Kevin, are some of these numbers soft? What I mean by that is some of it has to be by self-identifying.
No question.
And there's a lot of pride. Pride is a sin, right? But also it's understandable to not want to admit or have trouble with asking for help or needing help, or that maybe having it be identified that you're not capable for any manner of things, to not be able to feed your children. So I guess, and I'm not asking for a number here, and I hope this doesn't put you on the spot, but pretend like it was Gretchen, who now has abandoned you. This has to be a little bit of a soft figure, even though the figure is staggering.
The numbers, in fact, are soft.
Yeah.
Because every year when school resumes, around October, families have to complete income eligibility forms. And we've talked to the school districts about their percentages, and they're the first to tell us it's a bear trying to get the parents, all parents, to complete these forms. Some of the families are concerned because they may be close to what's called the benefits cliff. And so they don't want to reveal information to anyone for fear of getting pushed off of that cliff and losing some of those vital benefits that they receive.
How is this all funded?
Connecting Kids to Meals is funded primarily about 60% from federal reimbursement funding. So we are able to submit, excuse me, all of the paperwork, comply with all of the ridiculous rules, ODEW, all of the ridiculous rules and regulations. And then at the end of each month, we tally, our partners tally all the meals that are calculated and served every day. We take all of that paperwork and we collect and analyze the data, and then we have to submit a request to the state of Ohio to get some support, and then we have to fundraise for about a third of our annual budget.
But 2,500 meals a day.
Yes.
5 days a week.
Yes.
All month.
Yes.
That you have to front.
We have to lay out on average, about $300,000 every month to feed kids in Northwest Ohio, but predominantly Lucas County. And we don't get $300,000 back, let's be clear. So we're grateful. Let me use this as a quick point to say to our public and private funders, thank you. Our individual funders, thank you. Our volunteers, thank you. Because that is the only way that we're going to be able to continue to help kids in our community.
Let me wear the hat here that is almost never worn on this show, certainly, or by any of my few friends and colleagues in the street. But let me play the role of the cynic. All right, these are my kids. What do I care?
I get that question almost every time I go and speak to groups. Why aren't their question is a little bit shifted. Why aren't the parents taking care of their own kids? Well, after I take I count to 10.
Yeah, sure.
I have to share
1,000.
10,000. I'll have to do that next time. I have to share that families are struggling. We all know that we have had to ask for help at some time.
Yeah, sure.
Don't act like no one has ever had to ask for help. And so at the end of the day, we're trying to make sure that folks understand we may have a very small percentage of folks that don't, they're home, they're lazy, parents not doing what they need to do. But the vast majority are working 2 and 3 jobs just to make sure that their kids have the necessities, not everything they want, just the necessities.
And also, too, who's going to take care of these people if our kids can't learn because they're hungry?
Well, I don't know what Bible, I don't know what Bible a lot of folks are reading, but I know mine says that, we're supposed to feed the hungry.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
You are, I said in the intro to the show, you are one of my not only favorite nonprofit leaders, one of my favorite people in Toledo.
Same.
What brought you to this work?
You know, I was off having, gone to law school, gotten a large job at the large law firm, lived that life and not fulfilled, and started working at my church ministry. And it was in connection with our outreach efforts for back to school events in Columbus. I had an opportunity to take a peek into what was happening with a lot of families. I'm very, very fortunate. I come from a lower middle class family. Both my parents worked, really worked to put all three of us, my brother and sister, into private school.
Who's the biggest deadbeat between the other two?
What's the biggest what? I'm the best.
Yeah, sure.
And so, I come from a privileged background, so to speak. And so I know the importance of how every day I came home. I don't even know how my mom did it. With 3 kids, she got her doctorate.
Yeah, she's
she was a
amazing.
professor.
Yeah.
I'm like, what in the world? You didn't miss any of my sports events? Nothing. Yeah. But I know the importance of having a hot breakfast and then having a hot dinner with my family every evening. So when I saw that the need was high in Columbus, upon returning to Toledo, I saw that the need was equal. And I said, how can this be? We're not even close to the same size.
Right.
And I wanted to get involved. And so I started getting involved with a different hunger relief organization and made my way to connecting kids to meals eventually.
We are so blessed to have you back in Toledo. When you and I met, I was working with United Way on a campaign.
Yes.
We got randomly paired together for a presentation at Impact.
Impact, yes, right.
I remember this as clear as day because you opened your mouth and I was like, that is what Toledo is about, right?
It reminds me, that's what I think both of you have in common is every time either one of you opens your mouths, I want to move. So it is, it's a similar. Yeah, sort of similar.
Thanks, Matt. I love you too.
Yeah, sure.
All right, it's now time for Gretchen's Wacky Quiz.
Oh my goodness.
You'll be great.
I'm going to ask you 4 rapid fire questions.
Awesome.
Matt, in the role of Gretchen, is going to ask you to describe Toledo in exactly 1 word. And then you will work together to list the 9 best things in Toledo. All right. Question number 1. If you were an artist, what would you paint on your first day?
An angel.
God bless you. So me.
What's something you know that you aren't supposed to know?
Ooh.
Or just some random dumb fact that you wow people with?
I never wow people. Let's just say that.
This is the backdrop of you getting creamed in the Buckeye trivia.
Right, yeah, we got creamed. I mean, it was evident. I don't know those brainiac questions.
All right.
Are you a Harry Potter?
I'm not.
Okay, well then this next question isn't going to work. All right. What do you think of when I say fruit?
Melons.
All right. Yuck.
What's something that makes you cry?
The thought that kids are out there every day that we're not able to reach.
All right. Favorite thing about the city? An awkward transition into us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I have, you said one of my favorite things?
Number 1 word, 1 word to describe Toledo.
That's what I meant.
Lord. Lord help.
We'll take it. Lord help us. Yeah.
It's a hyphen.
Yeah, we'll take it. That's right. All right. 9 of your favorite things about the city. And
Yeah,
the region.
so 1, Kevin.
Yep. All right.
2, Matt.
All right. Yeah.
3, Gretchen.
In that order? That's okay.
In that order.
Yeah, sure. All right.
We can move Gretchen down further if we need to.
Absolutely.
All right.
Riverfront.
Riverfront. God bless you. All right.
University of Toledo women's basketball, as well as Bowling Green State University
All right.
basketball. I gotta be fair to my alumni here.
You got 3 left. Where do you eat?
My staff.
Your staff. Yeah, and volunteers.
And volunteers for sure, and funders.
I'm
We're
giving
gonna put all of them
and
in there.
funders. All right, you got one left. What's the last thing?
Favorite restaurant in Toledo?
J. Alexander's.
There you go.
Wendi Huntley, thank you so much. There's such an incredible need in the community. You guys do amazing work and have an awesome team. But what do you need?
Yeah.
What can the community do to be involved and help?
2 things. 1, we're going to escalate to 6,000 meals a day, between 5,000 and 6,000 meals a day in summer because kids don't have those school meals. So volunteerism and donations. People want to do food drives for us, but what they don't understand is because we're running federal programs, we have to purchase the food from USDA-approved vendors. So your dollar, any dollar contributed, is going to go much further than what you could do purchasing something and donating it to us. And so volunteerism, donation, and this spreading the word about the need in our community, and hopefully the work that Connecting Kids to Meals is doing.
I have had the opportunity with community groups as well as with my own family to go to Connecting Kids to Meals and pack meals, and it's an all ages thing, right?
Yes.
So that the kids are not only helping pack the meals, but they're also making inspirational encouragement cards for the kids. It is it's an incredible organization that we unfortunately need. But we are so grateful to have you leading the charge and supporting thousands of kids every single day. So, Wendi, thank you so much for what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to take a break. If people want more information, website is connectingkidstomeals.org.
Yes.
All right. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we will wrap up this Monday edition of the 419.
You laughed with us. You learned with us.
Hi, neighbor.
We made sure your childhood was special. Memories that could only be provided by PBS. For generations, we've given you programs that made a difference. Programs that entertained, informed, and inspired. And today is no different. This is WGTE Public Media in Toledo. It's where you belong.
Welcome back into the 419, powered by WGTE. We promised a different approach for today, what would normally be a Mayor Monday, but we brought three incredible individuals, no doubt the top of their field.
Yeah, agreed.
And folks who love the community and are certainly doing incredible work to make it a better place. Watershed Weekend had the conversation with Scott. If folks missed that conversation, obviously go back and watch the interview with Scott. It was awesome, but give me the details on Watershed Weekend.
Yeah, it's the 11th through the 14th. There is all kinds of activities in and around it. The Metro Parks is closing down the High Level Bridge. The Martin Luther King Bridge for having winter expos on it. But just as importantly, so many different community leaders are having events in and around the river, party in the park. We're going to have a soccer game downtown. It's pretty exciting stuff. And what it is about is bringing people together, and that's what this is doing.
Incredible. Thanks to Scott Carpenter, Nathan Mattimoe, and Wendi Huntley for joining us on the program. On tomorrow's show, we're going to talk with Mike George from Jenna Cross Lutheran Services. We'll talk with Wendi Bajeji from Ronald McDonald House. And then we'll have Matt Foss and Cora Vanderbroek talking about a film they're making here in Toledo. So incredible program coming up tomorrow as well. If you missed any part of today's show, 7 a.m. on YouTube, 3 p.m. on FM 91 or 6 p.m. WGTE Connects, channel 30.4, of course, online, WGTE.org/the419, or download the new and improved WGTE app. It's the 419, powered by WGTE, presented by Witro Wealth Management.
The 419, powered by WGTE, is made possible in part by supporters like you. Thank you.